Okay, Chapter 12 doesn't have a actual lab that goes with it. They give you the scenarios but don't provide a working environment for it, so I thought I'd put together this video and I'd like you to answer the questions in your exercise 12.1 to 12.5 using the information I'm providing here in this video tutorial. The first scenario, Rob calls the help desk, reports he cannot get on cannot access any websites or anything on the internet. We're going to look at some of the problems that Rob might be having. First thing we want to do is establish that he actually has a connectivity to the network. Opening the network and sharing center, we can discover that he certainly does not. From here, we can go ahead and look at manage our network connections. We're going to go to properties, and we're going to look at the TCP/IP settings for Internet version 4. And therein lies our problem. What on this screen that you're seeing right now, the IP address, subnet, default gateway, and preferred DNS, there's some information missing. Now, I'm not expecting that you're going to be able to provide the correct information, but give me an idea of what should be filled in here. Would we expect this to be all zeros? Would we expect the DNS server to be blank? And even this line up here had to obtain an IP address automatically. Recall that DHCP for Dynamic Host Control Protocol assigns IP addresses to all the nodes on the network. In this particular case, IP address automatically is not selected. Could that potentially fix a problem? Okay, cancel out of here. Okay, we have another scenario where let me hide that one again. We have another scenario where exercise 12, excuse me, 12.2, where Alice cannot send anything to the X drive anymore. Now I'm not really logged in here as Alice at this moment, and I'm actually using tutorial 11 as a platform to explain this these problems. So it's not exactly verbatim the way that we'll be looking at it, but let's take a look first at the with the C drive. We'll go back up to my computer, and we see that there is actually no X drive, assuming Alice was even logged in here. How would we examine the drives further? Well, one of the easiest way to do it would be to ignore what I'm doing over here, because that's part of the next step. My start globe, right click my computer and go to our manage. And from here we're going to access the disk management tool. Now I've already configured a few things in here. Let's notice that there is no X drive, and let's assume that we're logged in as Alice or logged in as an administrator to make these changes. We would want to create this unallocated space as the X drive. Please provide the simplified steps you would do to create an X drive in this unallocated space. Then, assuming that you've created that X drive, what's the next step you're going to want to take to assign permissions to Alice to be able to both to read and write to that partition? Okay, the third scenario, 12.3, talks about Gail as a head bookkeeper, and she also has other bookkeepers, and they all access files on a shared folder. One called payables and one called receivables. Gail claims that she cannot access these particular shared folders, but she can, however, access the internet. While accessing the internet, I would rule out the fact that Gail is having actual network problems. That she's actually connected to the network. She can get on the internet. She's just not being able to connect to some of the resources shared on the computer. So one of the first things I would want to check would be if file sharing is enabled. If she cannot share files, she cannot have access to those shared folders. So illustrate the steps you would do here to turn on file sharing, and now we also are going to examine those shared folders themselves. And I'm going to right click the payables. I'm going to go to properties, and let's look at the security tab first. users are given all access, full control. Now it's possible, let's take a look at the other one. In this case, users are not given full control, they're being given these modifiers, etc. Illustrate the steps you would take to give users full control, or how you could add Alice as a specific user here. Detail those steps. It's going to involve hitting edit, and then we're going to want to be going to add. Let's take a look at since we examined the security tab, that's dealing with the NTFS permissions. We also have to make sure that the shared permissions are not blocking her out. Normally you do not combine shared permissions and NTFS permissions. Let's look at the share. It is actually being shared. Let's go to the advanced sharing here, and we'll take a look at the permissions. Students and users only have the read permission, so they cannot add anything to those folders. They can simply read what's on those folders. Excuse me. In this case, please illustrate the steps you would take to give this person, or to give the user's account, full control. And of course we would be doing that for both. For both folders here. In this particular case, students actually have access. I meant to remove all these, but the user's account still only has the read access. What's the steps we're going to take to provide full access? Okay, our fourth scenario involves troubleshooting the desktop. Harold has been away for a few weeks. He comes back and somebody else had been using his computer, and he can't find his taskbar down below. It has been hidden or removed. Harold doesn't know. I think we can close this. As we move around, we might find out that on the far right hand side, if we put the mouse just in the right spot, there's the taskbar. What steps am I going to take this taskbar and put it back down to the bottom where Harold likes to see it? Also include in those steps how we're going to make sure it doesn't get accidentally moved again, and how it's available over top of any other window. In the last scenario, I'll just give you a quick hint on that toolbar one. Want to right click it. There's one of the options you're going to be dealing with. The other options are listed in here. So indicate which ones you need to keep that taskbar on the bottom with not being locked and being locked and not being able to move it. Make sure that it is not underneath any of the windows. Okay, and the last step that we're going to deal with is 12.5, troubleshooting login problems. In this particular case, Sarah calls help desk because she has intermittent problems logging onto her computer. When she logs in, she can log in, but sometimes it's taking her up to 30 minutes per day to do this. I assume what's happening is Sarah's entering the wrong password or username, and she's being kicked off, not allowed to re-enter that information again. So what steps are we going to want to take to access how the computer logs people in? Let's go over to Administrative Tools and let's take a look at the local security policy. And account policies are in this node right here. As we expand them down, let's look at the account lockout policy. In this particular case, we can see that after one invalid attempt, they will be locked out for 10 minutes, and the reset will set up after 10 minutes. So if she accidentally logs in with the incorrect information the first time, she will not be able to make that attempt again for 10 minutes. Assuming that, as your scenario explains, she took 3 attempts over a course of 30 minutes before she was able to log on. So after 10 minutes, she tried again, something incorrect. Cap locks were on, she's hitting an extra key, wrong password. Again, she's locked out for 10 minutes. And then upon a third attempt, she was unsuccessful, so for a total of 30 minutes she was not able to log on to the computer. What would you change in here to still provide some level of security, but allow mistyped passwords to, well, maybe wait two minutes before they can log that back in again? So indicate exactly what steps you would take. And I've already shown you the path that you're going to use to get to the local security policy. Again, it's off of the administrative tools in the control panel. Local security policy, and then the account lockout policy is located in the account policies located within the security settings dialog boxes. And that's it. Just put together a 12.1, your quick little solution, 12.2, your solution, all the way to 12.5. This actual lab shouldn't take you much more than, maybe half an hour. Be as detailed as possible. You don't have to list each and every step, but make sure you're not missing any significant steps. If I find anything that's glaringly missing, I'll shoot it back to you and ask for you to amend it and send it right back to me. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this semester. I will be posting one more video on the exam, and that video should be posted within the next day or two. The exam will be available during exam week, and check the announcement sections to understand what the password is for the exam. Again, it's a multiple choice, fill in the blank, matching, very similar to what the midterm was. It is timed, and you must complete it by Wednesday of next week. That's Wednesday I believe that's the 4th. Any other questions, shoot me a quick email. Thank you very much.